G'day everyone, welcome back to another edition of Guvs Hero Review videos. Today we are going to be continuing in our Zombies series, taking a look today at the 5-star legendary red heroine, Barbwire, the Total War Zombie, if we can find her. Oh, we scrolled past her apparently. There she is, Barbwire, woo! So Barbwire is available for summons, as we saw, from the Zombie Outbreak portal, which comes around once every 12 weeks. The portal itself, it's got fairly average odds. There's no featured heroes, which does really hurt the chances of getting a specific event hero, but there is a 1.2% chance of getting any of the legendary zombie heroes. So to put that in perspective, if you were to do 100 summons in this portal, you would have a 70% chance or a 70% probability of getting any one of the legendary zombie heroes. If you were chasing after a specific zombie hero, you would actually only have a 10.3% probability of getting that specific 5-star zombie. So not the greatest odds, and as I said, that lack of featured heroes really affects the chances of getting a specific hero in this portal. The zombie portal itself, it's got a complicated history. Originally, there were only 4 zombies, and they were part of the game as summonable characters from zombie badges that you got from a specific event or a specific spec op. In May 2021, SGG basically added the 30-stage event, ripped those 4 original zombie heroes out of their zombie badges and tossed them into this portal, along with 14 new zombie heroes of various rarities. The portal was expanded another 2 times since then, in September 2022 and then again in a March 2023 update. So Barbwire, she was part of that 2021 overhaul that they did. So she's one of the 14 new heroes that was added then. In terms of her artwork, let's just quickly chuck across to my roster and we can take a look at that. So where is she? There she is. So this is Barbwire's artwork. So she's titled, as I said, that Total War Zombie. So she's got a minigun, which is basically got a crap load of ammo. Not really sure about the ammo draped over her shoulder as a shoulder. How would you describe it? As a shoulder strap. But I guess better to have extra ammo in weird carrying positions than to not have enough. There's a little bit of that barbed wire tie back, so you've got some barbed wire on her gun and on her helmet, and then some spikes at various spots on her as well. So yeah, that's her artwork. Feel free to pause it if you wish, but otherwise let's head back to the portal and take a look at some of her other stats and stuff. So she is a member of the zombie family, which means that Barbwire has a 50% reduction in any turn-based damage that she might receive. So this is from things like burn or bleed or poison. Ooh, crack my neck. And that sort of effect. There is also an attack bonus that they get for having 2, 3, 4, or 5 unique zombie heroes in a battle. So if you've got 2 unique zombie heroes, they both get a 3% attack bonus. Note that they do have to be unique heroes. You can't bring along 2 copies of Barbwire. It's got to be 2 different heroes, such as combining Barbwire with Scarlet or Barbwire with Nox, for example. In terms of her personal stats, Barbwire comes in with 704 attack, 641 defense, and 1,457 HP. So there is a little skewing that goes from the defense towards the attack stat. Not much, it's only by about 20 or 30 points in total there. Her charge speed, it is set to 41, which is slow and requires 12 tiles to charge, or 6 ghosted tiles. The speed break does require only +2, which you can achieve using any of the speed guns in the game. So you can do it using either of the +9 weapons, the Firewing Trigger or the Chekhov SVK, or you can even do it with the +7 4-star Tigger Happy weapon. A double speed break does need +9, so that's obviously quite easy to do. Yeah, very easy to do that. You just equip the Firewing Trigger or the Chekhov SVK. So the 2% charge generation node, it's not really relevant. It can't make the single break alone, and it can't give a double break when combined with the 4-star gun. So not really much point in picking up the 2% charge emblem node for her. Class-wise, as we're on the topic of that, Barbwire is a member of the Warfighter class, which grants her the chance to revive on 1 HP when she takes what would normally be a fatal attack. The Warfighter talent is a very game-changing one. It can come in absolutely clutch or annoy the hell out of you when you encounter it on defense team. It has had a bit of a sordid history, both with acknowledged bugs by SGG and also some very conspiratorial, a lot of conspiracy theories that it continues to be bugged to this day. So it's a talent that generally I advise putting at least +1 on those heroes, just so you've got a chance for it to activate in a fight. By way of an emblem path, you saw that I had put emblems on my copy of Barbwire, so let's just open that up and we can take a look at the path. So I went in an attack path, all right? I really like just making my heroes hit harder, so that's why generally I go attack routes on a lot of heroes. So I picked up defense as a secondary effect just to try to bolster that a tiny bit, but it's not going to make too much of a difference. So we went attack and defense on the first node, and then we're just following attack. I did not bother with that healing node because it is very, very unuseful in the scheme of things, so I just went with the defense and HP on the side instead. Then we went attack, attack, and then if I did continue past +15, we'd also pick up the attack node there. You can probably stop it at +16 because that's the last attack node in the path. The 18 and 19, sorry, the 19 and 20, I don't think they're worth that amount of emblems. So if you were to pick up the 20th node, you do get a 30-point attack bonus, but you do have to outlay 250 emblems. So not really worth it for my money. So yeah, that's the emblem path that I would take. Right there. So pause it if you need, otherwise we will keep going. Pardon me for a sec. Alright, so heading back out from here, and we'll just jump back across to the portal to have a look at the rest of her skill. So her special skill itself, it is titled Bullet Mayhem, and at level 10 skill and 41 charge speed, it will deal 245% damage to all enemies, dealing a bonus 50% damage against enemies who have armor. The damage output is increased again against green enemies, dealing a 40% additional damage against those green enemies. And that's it. So we can break it down a bit, but there's only the damage output to really break down. So damage itself is quite difficult to calculate. It's non-consistent because there's a lot of randomness that goes into it, between a literal RNG factor and also the fact that every hero's got different defense stats. So an analogous way of doing damage is to calculate their attack power. So attack power is just you take their attack stat, multiply it by the percentage in their special skill, and we can see that Barbwire comes out with a base attack power of 1,725 per enemy. To normalize that for the different speeds of the heroes, we divide it by the number of tiles. That gives us the attack power per tile per enemy, and Barbwire, we can see, comes in number 3 with 144 attack power per tile. So it's not bad. It's similar the additional damage output when we factor in the bonus against armored enemies. It's nice. It is a good little enhancement, and it does bring a damage output up closer or similar to what Ruby deals. And it is relatively easy to pick it up, but it does obviously require armor generation on the enemy team. So it is the only conditional damage that is probably outside your control because it relies on the defense team doing something. But yeah, the damage output, it's pretty decent. You know, you can see it there, number 3. It's better than, you know, the other 7 DOA 5 red heroes. But it is worse than, you know, Scarlet and Ruby as well. When we start hitting green enemies, we do get that dramatic improvement because it is increased by 40%. The reason why it is a big increase in damage output is because it's not actually introduced additively, as is the case that we saw there with the bonus against armored enemies. Instead, what it is calculated as a flat 1.4x multiplier of the base damage. So as an example, if Barbwire Barbwire were in a fight and she had a net attack stat of 950, including weapons and emblems, and then she was able to target an enemy hero who had a defense stat of 1000. In a situation against a purple, yellow, green, or red hero, yellow, purple, blue, or red hero, the damage would come out roughly on that first cast as being 288 damage. If it was against a green enemy, however, that 288 is multiplied by 1.4, so it comes out as being 503 damage on that green enemy. For comparison, if the 40% were just to be added to her skill percentage, like with the armored damage, it would only come out as being roughly 347 damage. So yeah, big improvement just because it's a flat multiplier. And that's it. Ultimately, that right there is where Barbwire falls down a little bit, right? Yes, she's got good damage output. Yes, it does go up compared to green enemies. Even comparing it to other Duo 5 hitters, though she is lacking, right? All of the other ones have some form of secondary effect, with the exception of Scarlet, who's dealing almost double Barbwire's damage output, that is. But, I mean, you look at Ruby, she's got an armor debuff and passive armor generation. Wheels, he steals healing via his minion that he puts on himself. He's got pseudo healing and health stealing. Rudolph, Cutlass, they both do elemental defense down. Cutlass does burn, Warlock does burn, Marina does defense debuff, Marina variant does an attack debuff. So, all of these heroes, they've got something extra. Barbwire, she just does damage, and not even hugely large amounts more damage either. It's fairly comparable, her damage output to some of these other heroes. So look, overall, I don't mind using Barbwire in attack situations. I rarely ever use her without elemental defense down to further enhance her damage output. I've found that personally her damage output, it is pretty hefty, especially against green enemies, but ultimately it's probably not large enough to warrant having literally nothing else in her special skill. I mean, just consider the case of Ridge, all right? He's a similar sort of hero in his design, where he's built around having mega damage output, all right? His mega damage output, it's counterbalanced by having a charge element on himself, where he doesn't gain charge for 2 turns. But even then, he's got huge damage output, and it actually is genuinely huge. And he also puts a charge generation element on his enemies as well, right? If I could tweak Barbwire, just do one thing, I'd do something similar. I'd ramp her base damage output way up. Like, I'd make it 350, 390% even. But then I'd tack on some kind of self-inflicted ailment as well, like put an attack debuff or a defense debuff on her, for example. Then I feel that she would be worthy of having nothing but damage in her skill. But as it is, her damage, it's good, but it's not great, if that makes sense. So for Barbwire's grading, as much as I'd like to give her higher grading, I am only going to give her a C+ for war and raid attack situations. It is good damage output, but that's all it is in the end. For War Machines, I'm only going to give her a C-. There's nothing really in her skill that contributes to War Machine attacks. Same thing for events. She's not really fast enough or hugely damaging enough to make up for the fact that she's got nothing else to contribute to those event teams. So C- for eventing as well. For raid and war defenses, I'm going to give her a D+. She's not really a great defensive option. Her stats, they don't lend her any favors. She's got low defense and not great HP. The only thing she's contributing is damage, so maybe a niche situation would be to put her in as a flank to a blue tank, so that way if people stack green heroes against the blue tank, she might be able to get that bonus damage off, but yeah, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it. For tournaments, I'd give her a C+ for attack in bloody battles and a D+ for defense in bloody battles. For the buff booster tournaments, I'm going to give her a C grade for attack and a D grade for defense. She doesn't do anything buff boosters. She just kind of carries on as she always does. And then charged attacks, though, I am going to bump her up to a B grade for attack and a C grade for defense, because she does get a substantial charge improvement going from 41 up to 65 speed. So overall, that comes in as being a C grade for attack and a D+ for her defense grade. And that concludes the content that I have for this review of Barbwire. As always, these are just my personal opinions on these heroes. I do love hearing your thoughts and feedback on them, so please jump down to the comment section of the video, leave me a note. I love reading them and I try to reply to as many of you as I can. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to like it, subscribe to my channel and all of that, but most importantly, share the video around, because chances are, if this video is useful for yourself, it's also going to be useful to the people you play with as well. Thank you once again for tuning in and joining me for this review. I do hope I will see you again soon in another video, but until then, good luck, stay safe, and happy gaming. Cheers, bye!